VOA News. At least 6 people were killed and 13 others were wounded in 2 bombings in Somalia on Sunday. The deadliest explosion happened in the capital, Mogadishu, where 4 people were killed in a car bombing outside a coffee shop on the capital's busiest road. Officials believe the car was driven by a suicide bomber. Earlier in the day, 2 people were killed, 4 others wounded after a suicide car bomb exploded near a military vehicle in Afgoye. All of the victims were government soldiers. The al-Shabab militant group claimed responsibility for the attack. A Taliban suicide bomber killed 3 NATO forces on a foot patrol in eastern Afghanistan Sunday in an attack that also wounded an American soldier and 2 Afghan troops. Associated Press correspondent Karen Chammas reports.
The Czech military has confirmed that the 3 victims of the attack were all Czech service members. The Taliban claimed the attack, which took place near Bagram military base in the province of Parwan. U.S. Army General John Nicholson, the commander of U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan, said his thoughts and prayers are with the family of the fallen and wounded soldiers in the attack. NATO formally concluded its combat mission in Afghanistan in 2014, but some 16,000 US and other NATO soldiers are providing support and training to Afghan troops and carrying out counter-terrorism missions. I'm Karen Chammas.
At least 82 people were killed and hundreds injured when a powerful earthquake rocked the Indonesian island of Lombok on Sunday. It sent residents and tourists fleeing into the streets. The quake was recorded at magnitude 7.0 by the U.S. Geological Survey. It was also felt on the neighboring island of Bali and in Sumbawa and parts of East Java. At last week, 17 people were killed when a 6.4 quake hit Lombok. This is VOA News. South Sudan's warring parties signed a peace deal on Sunday. It's the latest attempt to end the country's 5-year-old civil war, which has killed tens of thousands of displaced millions. Which has killed tens of thousands of people, that is, and has displaced millions. Police in the Midwestern city of Chicago say at least 34 people were shot in the city in just 24 hours. 5 of those victims died, including a 17-year-old girl who was shot in the face. The youngest victim was an 11-year-old boy. President Trump continued his attack on the media on Twitter Sunday, saying they purposely cause great division and distrust. They can also cause war. They are very dangerous and sick. Associated Press correspondent Shelley Adler has some reaction to the tweet.
Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, was asked about the tweet on Face the Nation.
I don't believe journalists are the enemy of people. I think some journalists are an enemy of the relevant.
Thank you.
And enemy of the news you can use.
Another Republican, Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri, was asked about the tweet on NBC's Meet the Press.
It's not my point of view. I see the media, the press every day in the Capitol, walking through to my office to the floor. Lots of questions, generally really good questions.
And John Bolton, the president's national security advisor, didn't seem to mind the harsh words from his boss.
This kind of adversary relationship is typical.
Bolton appeared on Fox News Sunday. Shelley Adler, Washington.
Saudi Arabia says it is expelling the Canadian ambassador and has recalled its ambassador to Canada, is also freezing ties with the country over what it called interference in its internal affairs. The decision follows vigorous calls by Canada for the immediate release of human rights activists who have been swept up in a new wave of detentions in Saudi Arabia. Iranian state TV reported Sunday that the country will ease foreign exchange rules. The decision is an attempt to stop the collapse of the country's currency, the rial, which has lost half of its value since April over fears about the effect of U.S. sanctions likely to be imposed this week. The plunge in the currency and soaring inflation have sparked sporadic demonstrations against profiteering and corruption. Many protesters chanted anti-government slogans. Starting this week, the U.S. will reimpose sanctions on Iran's purchases of U.S. dollars, its trade in gold and precious metals, and its dealings with metals, coal, and industrial-related software. You can find more on these and other late-breaking and developing stories from around the world around the clock at voanews.com and on the VOA News mobile app. I'm Christopher Cruz. VOA News.